So we meet again. My very own Dragon's Blood Sage. Let's cleanse thoughts and those that may have been invited that weren't here for the show. Tonight we're going to talk about the occult. What you guys, depending on who I'm speaking to, call the occult. And how we got such a terrifying reputation for absolutely no reason. Um, you know, at one time they had, back in the 70s and 80s, maybe even part of the 60s, we may have had what many referred to as the satanic scare. And it predates that as well. You know, Satan is the church's best friend because he has kept them in business all these years. Without him, what would they do? Without the story of the enemy, how would they fill the pews? Because the pews have to be filled with a bunch of scary folk. I ask myself all the time, what is it that they're afraid of? There was a time in my life that they had me afraid. Yeah, they did. Had a nigga praying at night. I stole some cookies. And I was going to burn in hell. God forgive me. But you know what's crazy? I kept stealing the cookies. The hell was I afraid of? It wasn't Satan. No. It wasn't the enemy. It wasn't this contrived being in the ground waiting to burn me. That's not why I was afraid to steal the cookies. It was that belt that was gonna go across my ass, my bare cheeks. That's what I was afraid of. This shit's funny, man. But as always, it's me, Lucifaree Vera, doing an OmniCast. It's been a while. And I felt just due. I felt it was just due that we have an OmniCast. You remember we used to do these every night? Man, I did a whole lot of teaching. I shared a lot of my studies with those who cared to watch. So like I said, here we meet again. And good night. I figured it was late enough. It was the right time. We had just celebrated some great holidays. Yeah, we had. You know, I almost thought I was going to be able to celebrate birthday the way I wanted to. Have been wanting to anyway. I'm sorry if I look distracted. This damn bracelet came off and I'm trying to snap it back on. I don't know why I can't just have a regular clip. Speaking of bracelets, you know who you are. I want my shit back, or I'm pulling up. And if I pull up over that bracelet that was taken out of my bedroom, somebody's husband's gonna be mad. It ain't my fault. Shouldn't have stole from a nigga. But anyway, let's get back to being afraid of those ass whoopings. Ain't it funny how the tables have turned? Now those ass whoopings are what's evil. Say what? Whooping a kid's ass is evil? The fuck is this world coming to? Well, unfortunately, it ain't coming to anymore. It is here. But why did, or how did, the church come up with this being of someone who was so revered by the people? Gods and goddesses just suddenly turned into evil Huh? Yeah, man. That's how it happened. Let me fix my cloak. That was made for the priest, Lucifaree Vera. She's special. I haven't put her on in a while. And I think the way I'm sitting has it all messed up. You know, I almost didn't wear it. Why? Because it's hot than a motherfucker. And I didn't know it was going to be so damn hot today. I was sitting up here in the studio working earlier on other projects. And I just noticed I was just sweating away. And I'm like, damn, what is it, 90 outside? The fuck? Yeah, it was damn near. Shit happens. Summer has arrived. It's going to be hot tomorrow, too. But then right after that, it's supposed to be chilly. God, I love Ohio. So, let's get back to what everyone is so afraid of. Nobody wants you to read these books. Spoofery. They want you to fear the great Anton Zanderleve. A man who speaks nothing but reality, facts, common sense. He doesn't speak religion, faith, beliefs. He teaches parameters. And the crazy thing about it is 60-70% of the people in the world believe in every bit of it and don't even know it. But we don't need to get into that. We can save that. Let's talk about why this books are so feared. And that is not two of the same book. One is the Satanic Bible and the other is the Satanic Rituals. And they are the Satanic Rituals for the Church of Satan, Satanists, which I am one of. I'm also a Satanic Temple Satanist. I dig both of them. And I believe in the tenets of the Satanic Temple. And I believe in the statements of the Church of Satan. Why? Not because it has anything to do with the devil. Quite the contrary. Because it has nothing to do with the devil. What are y'all afraid of? You know, it's strange to me that for someone to love you, someone has to hate you. And for you to love someone, you have to hate another. That is the basis of these faiths. Jesus loves you. Yes, I know. But Satan hates you. For someone to love you, another has to hate you. You know, that almost is what the Baphomet represents, as in balance. I give them that. There is balance there. Balance in religion, as in the main taught religions: Christianity, Islam, Judaism. And for you to love one, you must hate another. To have a friend, you have to have an enemy. Ain't that shit something? Huh? Let me repeat that for those in the back that may have been on their phones. For someone to love you, someone must hate you. For you to love someone, you must hate someone. For you to have a friend in one, you must have an enemy in the other. What the hell is going on? Why can't I love everyone? Maybe if I ain't hate him, he wouldn't burn me. That's what I should have said. Maybe if I was friends with him too, he wouldn't burn me. Maybe if I loved him too, he wouldn't burn me. By y'all's belief. Now, let's be clear here. I'm not clowning anyone's belief. Please, regardless of what you do in life, believe something. Believe something. I believe in God. I get my salvation from God. But I'm not a descendant of the Christian deity. I am a descendant of a goddess. Yes, God is up there, out there, over there, right here in this flame. But it's a she, not a he. I'm sorry for the women out there that feel like there's this man that loves them. This powerful, strapping, boisterous, powerful man loves you so. I ain't saying he don't. That may be your deity. But wouldn't it be a bitch to find out that he wasn't? And you descend to Hecate? Or you descend to Lilith? You descend to Osiris? Those are my deities. Isis's husband. Or her son Horus? Or who the devil came from, Osiris's brother Set. What if you've been praising Jesus and this trilogy, and when you pass, you descend to someone that says, you lived right, you did good, you just called the wrong name. But did you really? Because it wasn't until modern times that Jesus became God. When I was a kid, I don't ever remember being taught that. He was the Son. Just like I was supposed to be his son. We were all his children. Now Jesus is God in the flesh. But Jesus didn't know enough to be the one that knows all, hears all, and sees all. He was just some man preaching his beliefs, doing things to lead people to believe he was the Messiah. That's why the Jews crucified him. It was blasphemous. Riding in on the white goat. Hey, go give me a white goat so I can ride into town on it tomorrow. Make these people think the prophecy has been fulfilled. Palm Sunday. Let them lay down their palms. Hey, make sure the goat white now, nigga. That's what Jesus was doing, him and his niggas. You know what I'm saying? It is easy to say you're fulfilling prophecy when you have read and know what has been prophesied. Think about that. Jesus was supposed to be a descendant of Abraham, a Jew, not a Gentile. And that's true. If Jesus did walk this earth, he knew nothing of a religion called Christianity. He didn't know this new religion because God did not create a new religion. If God or the Creator would have created a new religion, well, you got thousands of centuries of people that's burning in this so-called hell because they did not have this new religion. Or this true religion. These true teachings. So if God is a fair God, would he have not had to release all in captivity, burning in this hell? Because they did not have this new teaching. No. Because Jesus did not come to bring a new religion. He came to uphold an old religion. He did not come to rid anyone of the law of the Torah. He came to uphold it. until tensions arose with the high priests and his homies. Now there's a new religion. There's books removed from the Bible that in other countries that are Christianity countries have the book in it. And one is called the Book of Enoch. If you are a Christian and you have not read the Book of Enoch, I suggest you do. Do you know in Ethiopia, the Book of Enoch is in every Holy Bible? And they are a very Christian nation. Then there's a book of, is it Thomas? Where they tell the story of the child Jesus. And I believe they do in Enoch too. It's been a while since I read it. But Jesus was an evil child. He had powers and used it to be malevolent and cruel. These stories are told. Dug up from the same places they found, whatever they found that they came up with, the good book. Just like there's the book that tells you the true story of the revolt of the angels. Why they turned on God, whose name was Yeldabaoth, to be precise. Why they turned on him. And it was for the creation of civilization that was completely opposite of how they lived. They didn't have death, sickness, pain, and destruction and all the stuff we deal with here. Why create it? Why not make civilization in the image of our world? And here's another reason why the great Lucifer, the greatest angel, quarreled with his creator. It's because Lucifer, the light bringer, sat at the right hand of God. He was God when God was not there. He was in charge of all the angels. He was a perfect creation. And when Adam was created, God insisted that all the angels bow down to Adam. Lucifer said, "Not me. For I am the right hand of the Almighty. Why would I bow down to this earthly being? Who the hell is he?" And refused. And from that moment forward, started talking to other angels, getting angels on his side, because they all looked up to Lucifer. they all seen in Lucifer the angel they wanted to be. The perfect, beautiful angel. So Lucifer was loved more in the kingdom, but for clout, the archangels took his angels to war. And there you have the wars in heaven. It's the story. It's not what I believe, but that's the story. Now, there's truth in some of it. But Lucifer went on about his business and was granted civilization, was put here and named Satan. Not an enemy, was still doing God's work here. It was all God's work. Satan never stopped doing God's work. And this is where the misunderstanding comes into play. This is where he's your enemy comes into play. Because he still stayed loyal to his creator. He still stayed loyal to Yeldabaoth. If y'all don't hear me, I'm sorry. But this deserves the word and the phrase that we so often use: facts. As for the story, Lilith was Adam's first wife. Yeah. Lilith taught Adam everything he knew. Showed Adam the ropes. But she believed in sacred love and was casted out of the Garden of Eden, which I'm sure she ain't mad. We had to get out of that damn garden. But was casted out of the Garden of Eden as evil because she would not lay and sleep with Adam because Adam told her to. And before she left that garden, she showed Adam how to create Eve from within himself. And with her, you can have your love servant. But with me, love shall be sacred. And that was the only thing that was going to go down with Lilith. So, Lilith left the garden and ended up married to Samael, the prince of all demons. Which is why she's considered a dark goddess. But when I say the prince of all demons, I say the prince of the gods and goddesses of the infernal. The ones that removed themselves from heaven in that garden. You see, but when you send out evil vines, vines do not stop growing. They do not stop extending. In fact, they will return to you in the same form that you sent them out. And Adam, after how he did Lilith and created Eve, those vines came back and led Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. Do y'all hear what I'm saying to you tonight? There was no deception. She didn't have to be deceived. Because Lilith is the one who told Adam how to create Eve. So civilization was well in the making outside of that garden. There were gods and goddesses with descendants well before that damn garden. And all the descendants in that garden had to get out of it. Where would they be today still? Where would we be today in that garden? Lilith knew what she was doing. But that's so much for another OmniCast. Let's get back to this enemy and where he came from and how Christians began to fear some being that came from gods and goddesses. Do you know at one time, in the early Christianity years, the Christians revered these gods and goddesses. They were the powerful, the almighties. They turned to build their congregations to create their enemy. But they knew what it was. Gods and goddesses, the Christians turned to Satan. Let's talk about him. Let's start with Pan. Pan, not Peter Pan, Pan. Pan was a Greek god with the horns and legs of a goat. Kind of like the Baphomet. But he had the body of a man without the feminine parts like the Baphomet, because the Baphomet represents balance. He was a powerful symbol of nature's untamed spirit. He represented the surroundings, what was real, the tangibles and the intangibles of nature. He roamed nature, the woods, and he used to play these pipes. Everyone knew when Pan was near because they'd hear those eerie pipes. And Pan instilled fertility and also fear into those who encountered him. Sound familiar? Are you God-fearing? Are you God-fearing? Aren't that what you called? Or is that what y'all say? I'm a God-fearing person. Well, that was Pan. And then in the Celtic tradition, there was Sononus, another horned god of animals and fertility. He had these stag antlers and was surrounded by wildlife. Now think about what wildlife would represent. We would all have been wildlife. These thousands of centuries ago. Then there was a god, an India's deity, Panchpati, another lord of the animal. That's what we are. We're animals. But because of our advanced intellect and divine nature, we are the worst animals on earth. Way worse than any animal that crawls on all four. All of these deities were revered, celebrated in rituals connecting the mysteries of nature. Because nature was always mysterious to everyone. You had all of this life surrounding you. And then you had these gods and goddesses that ruled them as well as you. There was no fertility without these gods and goddesses. The horns symbolize power and virility. And their body form separated them from the humans. So you knew they were the divine. Man, I'm telling you, these Christians was something else, man. They was something else. They had these antlers. They had these broad bodies. They walked on hoofs. They ruled their surroundings. They were divine. And you could look at them and say, that's a divine man. That's a God. In early Christianity, none of these deities were seen as evil. Not one did the Christians say were evil. You don't believe me? You ain't got to believe me. Read like I do. Then, as new religious ideologies started to build and change started, and when these new ideologies, religious ideologies, started to change, they had to change the perception of these gods, because they wanted to create their God. They wanted to have control of the people. And how can you have control of the people when Pan's pipe sound and the people ran to revere? Women flocked to him. He was the one who instilled fertility. So the Christians had to change how you looked at these gods. As these new faiths began spreading, the church had to distinguish their new beliefs. Because remember, the church revered these gods too. So they had to start distinguishing these beliefs from the old ones. Or where would they get their power from? Because everyone would come to this church and be like, where's Pan? We need to talk about Pan. Synonymous. Pashapati. Talk about the horn. You know, the first god was the horn god. And the goddess of fertility wasn't no man. In fact, people used to wear the skin of animals in honor of the horn gods. But the church had to distinguish their new beliefs from their old ones so they could no longer revere these gods and goddesses. Their wildlife and symbolism of nature started to be taught as sinister and threatening. The enemy, it's evil. It's out to get you. It wants to draw you into the pits of hell and burn you for eternity. That's what they're there to do. But that's not how they came off on them from the door. These reinterpretations were done gradually, but deliberately by the church. Early leaders of these Christian churches started to teach that these gods were of darkness and malevolent, drawing comparison of their horns to animalistic features with contrived teachings of the demonic, which was created and defined by them. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying to y'all? And who is them? Y'all know. The same them that drove the slave ships. The same them in the world right now bringing Jim Crow back, talking about how Christian and God-fearing they are. All of the teachings of these gods being malevolent, all of the teachings of their horns and animalistic features being demonic, was created by the teachers of Christianity. This was the Christian church's beginning of a very long process of demonization, creating their path to a single evil figure. Your enemy, the one that you must hate to love, the one that must be an enemy for you to have a friend, the one that hates you so one can love you. This was their process, the beginning of their process, to get a single evil figure. Through the years, these paths started to terrorize the minds and imaginations of the people collectively for many centuries to come. Because you got to understand these times. This is why I say the Bible is so contrived. Because we're dealing with a time where people could be very pretentious. What else do they have to do then? Start a fire, sit by it, and imagine? So you get some higher ups walking around with a book they wrote, beginning a process of a single evil figure, and now they're starting to terrorize the imagination of the people. And this is where you get a single figure to call the enemy. And they did this for centuries. In this ancient world that they lived in, the churches planted these seeds of this contrived demonic evil being of malevolence just so it would grow to become the church's adversary. Because there'd be no church without an adversary. It don't matter what you believe in. It doesn't matter what your faith is. At some point in time, regardless of what you believe in, of these religions and faiths of the world, this is how they did it. You know, they wouldn't even know how to worship if it wasn't for the rituals of nature and the worshiping of Pan and Punch's Party. And how the pagans worshipped and the witches worshipped. That's how they worshipped. They just took it. They, with their book and their better than everyone's attitude, they made their adversary, their enemy, rooted in fear, fear-mongering, and reverence. Now you revered the unknown. There needed to be evil. And that is where this contrived story of Satan came from. So I ask you again, what are you afraid of? When things go wrong, they just go wrong. It's not a divine enemy. It's life. When things go good, they go good. It's not some divine acknowledger of followers. Things are going good. No one says don't be grateful, and no one says there's not deities. There's many deities, all powerful, all with followers. But the churches have pulled the followers away by instilling malevolent imagination and fear into their minds. This is what they did, y'all. And you want to know what's even worse? Through the years, they started to build churches. Buildings that you walked into and somebody was preaching, teaching, fear mongering, talking crazy about the gods that they once revered. You know where they put these churches? On the sacred land where the people used to go to worship. There were places that were considered sacred to where you could go and be one with your Creator. Where you could go revere your God, your goddess. These were the connecting lands. So the people still flocked there, but now there's a church teaching what? A book they wrote. It's sad, man. And then people like me are looked at as evil. Evil? No. I don't have to love someone or hate someone to love someone. I don't have to have an enemy to have a friend. And I don't have to be hated to be loved. I am free of that. I can show reverence and respect to all deities, for they are all worthy. They're not mythology. It's another thing they did. Started calling them all Egyptian mythology, even though the entire story of Jesus and God was taken from my goddess Isis, Osiris, Horus, and Set. That's our religion. That's our belief. That's our God and goddess. Everything from Mary crying over Jesus to Isis crying over Osiris to the sun, Horus, the son, Jesus, and an adversary, Set, the devil. It's another one that we could have talked about, but Set was the brother of Osiris. And Set murdered his brother, the god Osiris. Chopped him up, put him in a box, and threw him in the sea. Why? Because Osiris slept with Set's wife. He was the god. And Set had some thought, as if that would bother Isis enough. But Isis was not under Osiris. She was the power. She was the goddess. And you murdered my husband. And Set was casted away. He's still revered today by some. There's actually the Temple of Set. It's actually the general of PSYOPs in the United States military today, who is the leader of the Temple of Set. Don't get me thinking of names right now. Just like you have the Luciferians. But the Luciferians are not believers of Lucifer. They take the name, but Luciferians are seekers of knowledge, constantly learning. Brilliant people. Brilliant people. But spoofism makes you take these names and think these people are something else. Just like Satanists. They think we're evil because of the satanic scare. Every damn crime that happened got blamed on Satan. Because some moron that didn't understand Satanism or any of the books that he read went and committed a harsh crime and said the devil made him do it. Or they found satanic artifacts or drawings and posters and diaries and journals and said the devil said you needed to collect 11 heads to finish a ritual. Ain't no shit like that in Satanism. I don't know what the hell they doing. And you ever notice that any of those heinous crimes that's committed in Satan's name is usually done by people in their teenage years that don't know no damn better? I once done an OmniCast where I said, hey, I got a fun fact for you. One thing you'll never hear a true Satanist say is that the devil made me do it. Because we believe in accountability in ourselves. We don't believe in no contrived devil. We don't believe in no hell where sinners roast. We don't believe in no heaven of glory bright. We don't believe in no living redeemer. We are our own redeemers. Only we can bring us back. Praying ain't gonna get you nowhere. Satanic rituals are for therapeutic nature. Now, we're not going to get into the grimoires. Several of them. Man, what the hell is this on my foot? You see, when you start talking about infernals that can meet up and do damage for you, hell, they say some of them just speaking their name can bring wreckage to you. But that all depends on who you are. Because Lucifer gives everyone the power to be demanding, to be boastful, to command, and not be afraid. But if you lack in any of those departments and you ritualize the summoning of anyone of the grimoire, they will devour you. So you better be ready to command. And if they sense fear, you are done. You know, that's where the Law 3 came from. Yeah. Where people say if you do black magic, it's going to come back on you. That's a myth. Magic is magic. The magic you do is up to you as the practitioner. There's no such thing as white and black magic. That's Wicca shit. But you can summon the Cremorium Varium. Yeah. But there's no divine there. It's all about domination. personal intent. You can go for the black Kia Robicel. Trade your soul for complete knowledge. Enough knowledge to do anything that needs done. Cast 7-day curses like it's giving away candy. But when you're with the black Kia Robicel, you are by yourself. Your reflection is the only thing you have to remind you that you are not alone. There's some shit out there. There is. Honorius, the Sworn Book, where you can take all that spiritual uncertainty and replace it with pure power. Get it done. And the grimoire that I've writing with my own blood, Le Dragon Rouge, the Red Dragon, the Grand Grimoire. Because only through Lucifaree Vera can you talk to Lucifer. And when you demand that, what you want done will get done. To anybody, anything that you say is done to. Anything that you want is yours. Riches, fame, talent. Hell, that to Robert Johnson supposedly met at the crossroads. Lucifer sits at the top of them all. Lucifaree Vera is Lucifer's gatekeeper. And then he has his one, Satan Akal. And the Flortia Narbalos. Oh, there's a bunch of them. Then you got the Book of Abraham. That's another grimoire. Yeah. That's all about the pain in spiritual authority. Oh, it's painful. It's real painful. These are books that people and witches are scared to death of. These are grimoires that 99.9% of them would never, ever deal with. The Key of Solomon, the 72 demons. The Armoire of Armadale. And others. When your grimoire is deep, that deepens it. Because, yes, you can curse without them. Yes, you can get shit done without them. But if it's ever serious enough, They there, man. Them grimoires were once kept in lock and key and hidden and taken from everyone, burned. The people feared them so much. There's supposedly 2 original written copies in the Vatican. You know the Vatican that sits on top of Lucifer's kingdom? Yeah. Why do you think the Catholics go through so much with spirits and demonic and all that crazy shit? Because they put they shit on top of Lucifer's kingdom. But anyway, in these centuries, the pagans' beliefs were of the majority. Throughout all this time, when the church was creating this contrived single enemy, for centuries, the pagans were still the majority. For only a very few believed in this faith that man created called Christianity. For many years, they talk about how old Christianity is all the time. Oh, it's the oldest religion. It's the oldest of the world taught 3. But it's very young compared to the things I'm teaching you about tonight. And there's still us pagans that don't believe that shit. It's too contrived, man. And the time frame was just, people had nothing else better to do but be pretentious. I mean, you read the book of Revelations and you read of the locusts and the dragons and the flies with the faces of kings and queens, or locusts with the faces of kings and queens, and all these dragons, 7 seals and all this stuff. It sounds like someone with nothing else to look at but a dragonfly fly by to make a story about. Man, imagine if that fly had King David's face on it. That'd be awesome. Let me write this down, and one day someone will find it. Miss me. I can't do it, man. I love y'all. I do. I love all of you. I love everyone. You can't do your faith, man. I will die a witch, a satanic witch. And you know, being a satanic witch is just saying we're fearless witches. We do great things for our loved ones. We just don't waste our time on ingrates. We could give 2 damns about people that don't give 2 damns about us. But it ain't like because you're a satanic witch, you're out there doing all this evil magic. Hell no. All we do is try to heal and nurture and bless and take care of our loved ones. But if we were to go summons the Dragon Rouge, we're not going to be afraid of them. Or any other entity that we call upon for assistance. We're not going to stand inside a circle to protect ourselves from them. What's it look like asking somebody for assistance? But stay away from me. Look out here. This is what I summoned your ass to do. Go on about your business. That's the power Lucifer gives you. And I want to be clear to everyone, because someone said this to me the other day, that they believe my name is derived from Lucifer. It is not. It has nothing to do with Luciferism, Luciferians. It is the name that Isis gave me and told me that that is your spirit's name, descendant of mine. Vera just means the truth, that I will tell the truth, nothing but the truth, at all times. Lucifaree, it's just the name of my spirit, and that's the truth. And there you have it, Lucifaree Vera. Man, this was good tonight, wasn't it? It's been a while, man. Hey, I tell you, man, it's been a while to sit out there. I hope all of the people that used to follow the OmniCast, you know what I'm saying, gets back up and sees that there was one. Yeah. Yo, I'm very, very glad I did this tonight. Because I really want people to understand that there ain't nothing you need to be afraid of. I was going to show y'all a video about the 80s scare and all that shit of Satanism. You know the FBI investigated Satanism for a long time. For a very, very long time. And you know what they basically said? It's all smoke and no fire. These people are crazy coming in here talking about there's some cult out there making them do this shit. There's all this human sacrificing going on. You know where there's sacrificing going on? Out there in them Bohemian woods. All them rich people worshiping that goddamn owl, sacrificing kids. That's who they need to investigate. But they can't, because that's the world's most powerful. The Bohemian, what's that shit called? The Bohemian, damn. I hate trying to think of shit when I'm spitting off too much shit. But yeah, man, I believe they out there sacrificing kids. I believe that's a bunch of evil ass men that run the world, government officials. It's the only place in America that isn't a government protected structure that is like a government protected structure. You can't walk up in there. There's security all around that bitch. The people who live in the in Northern California where it's at, all them locals, it's on some of their backyard. They can't go nowhere near it. Shit's crazy. Motherfuckers tried to swim down the damn river to see it. But every year you see all these black limos and fucking Range Rovers and Lamborghinis and all the world's richest and elite politicians and billionaires and presidents and all this shit. Bohemian Grove. Ain't that what it's called? Bohemian Grove. Let's look it up. Yes. Bohemian Grove in Monterey, California. They evil. They be on that shit. They make this great big ass fire in front of this great big ass wooden owl, and they just throw kids right in that motherfucker. That's what they say. I ain't saying it. That's what they say. I'm just saying I believe that shit. I don't put nothing past those type of white men. Shit, they threw 1 million motherfucking black folks in the damn Atlantic Ocean. But anyway, like I said, it's been a great, very, very great OmniCast. And I'm very glad I did it. And there'll be more to come. You know, I really didn't even study anything to do this tonight. I just freestyled it, basically. I just talked. You know, usually when I used to do them, I would get a topic. I'd sharpen up on it through the day, get through it. Boom, 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 bang, bang. We'd have a show. Tonight I said I'm just going to come out here and talk to the people. Because I have had, over the last couple weeks, a few disagreements, shall I say. Because you can't say debates, because every time I start to talk, it's like, oh, no, man, nah, man. Tell me something about what you believe. Show me that you got 5% of the knowledge of what you believe compared to the knowledge I have of what I believe. And then I may let you tell me to shut up. 5%. They ain't got it. Because people who are strong in their faith, people who know what they believe, ain't afraid to have a conversation. I've sat at the table of very strict Christians, God-fearing, and read from the Satanic Bible and said, tell me what's wrong with this. Couldn't find nothing wrong with it. Anyway, more will come. And as always, Lucifaree Vera loves you. And blessed be.